Welcome to the Your Wedding Unlimited podcast, a space where we break free from tradition, creating a wedding day totally authentic to you and your love story. I'm Abby, UK wedding planner and owner of Elegance Unlimited, here to help you plan a wedding day that feels uniquely yours. Join me for planning tips and advice, endless inspiration, and a pocket full of calm within the chaos that is wedding planning. Consider me a trusted friend, here to walk you through it all. From injecting fun splashes of personality into your day, to reinventing tradition completely, all whilst focused on building a day bespoke to your dreams and desires. I cannot wait to get started, so let's get planning. Welcome back to another episode of the Your Wedding Unlimited podcast with me, Abby, your friendly neighborhood wedding planner. I am super excited to be back. We've got a nice few episodes under our belt now. We're working our way through all of the tips, all of the advice, all of the guidance, and I just hope you're finding it as beneficial as I hoped it would be. I hope that you're enjoying it. I hope that it's helping you to feel a little bit more confident throughout that wedding planning process. That's the ultimate goal, along with all the inspo and the fun and the laughs and the stories and all the things that come with it. I just hope that it's helpful for you. So yes, here we are back again. I think this is episode 6, which is wild. We're nearing the double figures and I'm very excited about hitting the double figures. Just feels like a little mini milestone for me, you know? Since we've been on this journey together, episode 10, that's gonna be quite exciting, isn't it? That's more than 2 hands. So well, it'll be 2 hands and then we'll, I'm excited either way. So thank you again for joining me. If you are listening on your favorite podcast app or you are watching this on YouTube, just FYI, you can watch the full episodes of these podcasts on YouTube if you prefer a visual medium. If you like to look at someone whilst they ramble on to you about weddings, then you can find us over there at Your Wedding Unlimited. All the links and stuff to anything, if you ever need to find it, will be in the show notes. But yeah, thanks for joining. Thanks for coming back. Last week we talked about reinventing tradition, if I'm correct, if I remember rightly. And that's a topic I'm super passionate about. I love talking about reinventing tradition and just all the ways that you can make a wedding day your own. I think that there's such a like a stereotype on the way that weddings need to look, the way they need to feel, the way they need to run. And don't get me wrong, you will always get like recommendations from me as a wedding planner. I'll say, please don't do this, please don't do that. If you're thinking about switching up the timeline in a way that's going to make things really difficult and awkward, I'm always going to tell you, hey, don't think that's going to work. Please don't do that to me. Okay. Because I'm going to be the one fixing it on the day. Please don't do that to me. I'll always give you recommendations and will always, I'll give you my best advice and expertise. But the kind of gist of like a wedding day, like the way that it runs and how it looks and feels, like that's all down to you. There's so much like wiggle room to play with the way that your wedding day runs, the order that we do things and everything else. Obviously, you kind of initially want to have your ceremony first and then do the party after. But I mean things like you can cut the cake when you want and you can do formal photos when you want and your first look, and like you can incorporate all these things into your day that aren't typically traditional that make it your own. And I love talking about it. I could spend a whole nother episode talking about it, and I'm sure we will, but it's not going to be today. Okay, we're talking about something different today. But if you have any questions about that or any stories or things you want to share, please send them in to yourweddingunlimitedpodcast@gmail.com. That's the email you can send anything to. And yeah, so please reach out. I'd love to hear some stories from you guys and some questions and things. That would be super, super fun. But for the time being, today we are talking about wedding parties. And this is a fun one. I think it's going to be a fun one. I like talking about this because your wedding party is like such a big part of the day. It's such a big thing. I think a lot of people can make it feel like a bigger thing than it maybe is. Like it's important, don't get me wrong, but you either go one of two ways with it. I think you either find it a really, really simple task to do, to be like, I know exactly who I'm going to have surrounding me on my day as like the immediate wedding party, or it's like, oh dear God, how am I supposed to make this decision? So today we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about how to choose your perfect wedding party. So stay tuned for more tips and advice about that. Let's get straight on into it, shall we? Now, the first thing I wanted to talk about regarding wedding party in general is the politics. All the politics. The politics of creating a wedding party and, involving certain people in being in your wedding party. Like there's a whole lot of politics there. Like with anything in life, you get like the politics of like the unspoken words about what you do and what you don't do. There's always things, and typically it's a much more British thing as well. Like we become very polite in those senses. The obligation of having to do this because someone did this, or having to say this because someone said that, it's very much ingrained in how we live as British people. So, and I don't have much knowledge or expertise on any other kind of cultures or countries. If anyone is listening from anywhere else in the world and wants to share, once we've talked about this episode and the kind of etiquette that goes along with a wedding party, please share your stories. I would love to hear how things go down in like other parts of the world. So typically, when we're talking about a typical couple and you've got your bride and your groom, or whoever it may be, you've got the mother of that person, the father of that person, and the mother of the other person, father of the other person. Again, could be two mums, could be two dads. You know my gist here, okay? But the parents are typically like an automatic part of that wedding party. They have their own kind of traditional roles and the parts they play, whether you're being walked down the aisle by one of them, whether you spend the morning with one of them, whether you do a first look with one of them. Later on in the day, you might have your special dance with them or things like that, or you get a speech read out by them, anything like that. They have their own individual roles within your wedding day and as part of like your wedding party. Okay, so parents, automatic. They're there. And again, it's tough, isn't it? Because not everybody has an incredible relationship with their parents. Not everybody is fortunate enough to get on with their parents really well. And your mum might be coming to your wedding, but you might not want them to do those typical roles or have that typical part in there. There might be someone else in your life that kind of feels that better. That's a whole other conversation. But please know that you can do what you want. Like you can choose whoever you want to do specific things throughout your day and kind of be by your side. You don't have to like have your mum or dad there doing those things just because it's typical or traditional to, if you don't have a good relationship with them. But I won't get too much into that. I could ramble on again with that for ages. And I do have a habit of getting off into a tangent. We don't want to do that. Okay. I'm trying to be concise and I'm trying to actually like follow a point to the end without getting distracted. So yeah, parents are typically part of the wedding party, but you also get stereotypically your bridesmaids, groomsmen, maid of honor, best man, that sort of thing. Also including, you could include your flower girls, page boys, all of those kind of things kind of fall into that category. And these are typically the people that have a role to play on the day. They're not just a guest turning up, they have a role to play, and their name will likely be somewhere on someone's list, likely as a wedding planner, my list, or the venue's list, or someone running the ceremony. And at some point, we'll be saying, right, where's the flower girls? We need them up. We need them up at the front? Where's the maid of honor? She's walking down with so and so. Who's walking the dog down the aisle? We need this person. Like they've got a role to play on the day. So we'll have like a list of their names somewhere. And I guess it's a bit like a VIP status, really, isn't it? Which I guess is where this kind of tension and issues and like the politics of it can come in, because you feel a bit special when you're a part of a wedding party. You're like, yeah, I'm with a wedding party. Okay. I've got a role to play. I've got a responsibility. I'm feeling pretty important today. Obviously, nobody is as important as the bride and groom, but having that kind of little title on the day and being a part of this kind of little VIP club feels pretty good, doesn't it? If you've ever done it, it feels nice. It's good fun. So, yeah, I think politics of a wedding party can become really difficult because people can get upset if they're not included. People can like expect to be included and then you end up having to include them without really wanting to. We'll definitely talk about that in just a second. But my main point that I'm trying to get across is not to let the politics of a wedding party and how you think it should look and how you think it should go overtake any of your own opinions and ways that you want things to go. Okay. We are remembering throughout everything that we do, not just in this episode, anytime I'm talking to you ever as a wedding planner, to you, a listener, it's always about how you want your day to go. It's your day. Okay. So even though we're talking about traditions and what traditionally happens, and typically people do this, and here's my advice on how to do this, you can always throw all of that out the window. Legal stuff not included. If you want to get married for reals, then you got to do the legal stuff. I can't help you with that. But anything else, it's up for grabs. You can do what you want. Okay. Not everyone's going to be happy about it. But as your wedding planner that wants you to have fun and do it the way you want to do it, please always remember that. Okay. TED Talk over. We'll carry on with the main gist. Now, I wanted to just talk for a moment to you about choosing a wedding party and the pressure and the stress that sometimes people can feel when they're choosing those people. Now, some people grow up in life and you just know as you go through life who your bridesmaids or groomsmen or whoever are going to be. So from my experience, I'll talk as if I'm talking about myself. I've grown up thinking, oh, these are my best friends. This is who's going to be my bridesmaid on the day. And as life goes on, you fall out with certain friends, you make new friends, and like people drop off the list and new people pop on. And that's great. That's exciting. Some people have a really easy job of it where you've just always got in your mind this list of a nice few people that you're like, yeah, those are my guys. Those are who I'm going to have with me on the day. No question. And it's not even an issue for you. And if you are one of those people, amazing. Your life, this really isn't an issue for you then. Like your life is easy in this sense. It's an easy task because you know who you're going to ask and it's simple. We love that. Other people, and it's not a bad thing if you're one of those people, like, this is me trying to give advice to you and support and help you. Other people really struggle with this task. Could be for a couple of reasons. Could be that you could have the really good problem in that there's too many people you want to ask. I've just got too many friends and you're sitting there like, oh my God, I really don't want 12 bridesmaids. Like, okay, that would be amazing, but like that's a lot of money. Okay. Because you got to put a lot of money into like having bridesmaids. So that might be out of the question. And maybe you also just don't, some people don't like the look of having too many bridesmaids when you're getting your pictures done and all those things. Maybe thinking, I don't want that many. I don't even want more than 4. Or maybe some people want an odd number, some people want an even number. Like there's so many things that come into it that you start to think, oh God, I really don't want that many bridesmaids, or I only wanted 4, but there's 5 people I'm trying to choose from and I'm finding that really stressful. How do I choose who I want to be a part of it and who I don't? Who's more like important to me and who's not? And I think that's the thought process that people can go through, thinking like, well, it must be a matter of importance. Because, I've talked about the VIP club. And when you're in the VIP club, you feel really important and fancy. But it's not like a matter of status. I think people, because you feel very important when you're part of the wedding party and it's really nice to be included in that, I think then it's quite easy to feel like you're not included or you're not as important if you're not included in that. And I get that totally, because weddings bring up a lot of emotions for people. And I understand if, as someone who's planning a wedding, you're worried about how a couple of people are going to feel if you don't ask them to be bridesmaids or groomsmen or whatever else. And that can be really tough. The one thing I would say is just to kind of, as I always say, stick to what feels right for you. Like, don't feel that you have to bow down to the politics of it and bow down to this pressure and choose people that you don't really want to be a part of your wedding party, to be a part of it. So I think let's remember that you can choose whoever you want. It's your choice and it's no one else's choice apart from you and your partner. Okay. There are still going to be some people that sit down and think, well, there's no way I could not choose this person, like choosing out of obligation because they're expecting me to ask them to be a bridesmaid. So I have to. You don't. It might be awkward, it might be tough, it might not be a very nice conversation, or it might bring up some awkwardness, but just as a first point, you don't have to. But I understand why you feel like you have to. It's really tough. And then you get like the other side of things where if you've been to enough weddings already and someone's asked you to be their bridesmaid, you feel like you have to ask them back. And the same goes for like groomsmen and things like that. I feel like maybe it's the ignorance here of me being a woman, not having experienced it from a man's perspective. Do men have the same struggles? Or do men just think, oh, I'll just choose who I choose, no big deal? Like, do men have the same issue of like feeling like they have to ask someone because they were asked before and like all this stuff? Like, that's something I actually need to know. Because, yeah, I've not really experienced that side of things. For the most part, the things I've seen is kind of men are just like, yeah, whatever. They won't care if I don't ask them. They won't care if I do. I don't know. Maybe that's just like the men I've seen go through it. But Yeah, that would be interesting. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts on that. What I will say is if you're feeling brave, and it does take some bravery, if you are really feeling like you're in a situation where you know what bridesmaids you want, because you all know, like without having to say it out loud, you know who you want to ask. And there might be people that you think, I really don't want to ask them, but I feel like I have to. Maybe they've not been a good friend to you, or maybe like they're really flaky. There could be a whole bunch of reasons that you're thinking they're just not the right person to be by my side. Maybe they're actually really mean and you should be just getting rid of them as a friend completely. But, life doesn't always go that way. I don't know. It could be a whole bunch of reasons. Try not to let the feeling of having to feeling obligated to ask people take over, because what we really want throughout the process, we want people by your side that you love and care about. We want people that really matter to you the most, like your people. They should be beside you. So prioritize that, focus on that. And if you have to, tell people you're just having a couple of bridesmaids, or you can't have all of them, or, maybe your partner's only having two and you have an option of six. So you have to choose two because you want to keep it symmetrical. Maybe you don't want to have a different amount each. That's fine. Like there's ways around it, there's always a way around it to get your way on your wedding day. That's what I'll say. Doesn't sound great, does it? To like, there's always a way to get your own way. But when it comes to your wedding day, I truly believe that that's how it should be done. And we shouldn't be prioritizing other people's happiness on our wedding day, except for if it's your partner. Okay. We prioritize each other's happiness, and then everyone else is there to celebrate that. So if you're brave enough to like cut some people out and not do the like asking out of obligation or the politics and things like that, please do it. I encourage you to. But the main thing I would stress is just to don't stress. Don't stress about it. Like you can't control if other people are going to get upset about it. Some people might be expecting you to ask them and you just don't think you're that close as friends. Like could be anything. Some people haven't even talked about like siblings and sisters and things, and I don't have sisters, so I wouldn't know like how that goes. But it's a typical thing that you think, well, if I've got sisters, my sisters get priority to be a bridesmaid, like I'll obviously ask them first. I don't know how it works if you've got heaps of sisters. Do you just have to choose all of them and not have any of your friends? Like how does that work? That's a good question that I've not actually come across yet. Any real dilemmas like that? That's an interesting one. So let me know if you've got like loads of sisters and like best friends that you want to include. Are you including everyone, or are you like having to pick and choose? How does it go? Family before friends? Who knows? And I think like the reason I say it like that is because I don't follow those rules, and I don't encourage my clients or people I work with to follow those rules either. I always encourage it to be who do you want stood next to you on your day. And I know we don't typically do, I think it's more in America they do the standing up at the front of the aisles as well, which we don't typically do here in the UK. We'll walk down the aisle, but we don't typically stay standing throughout the whole ceremony. Just make sure you're having a think of things through. Like, make sure you're choosing people that really mean the most to you. And if that's your sister and one friend, that's great. If you're choosing all your sisters and no friends and you want to give your friends other roles, which we'll talk about in just a second, then that's also great. If you want to give your sisters other roles, choose your friends instead because like they've always felt like sisters. I don't know, but it's the politics of a wedding. It stresses me out, the politics. I don't like it. I don't like the politics in any kind of situation. I just want it to be easy breezy and fun, but that's not always how it goes. I get it. If you're sat there thinking and stressing that like it's really tough to choose your wedding party, I just want you to know that you're not alone. It's tough, and take some time with it. Like don't feel like you have to make a decision that like they're on the spot, and like don't let other people put you under pressure to ask them to be part of your wedding party as well, because some people do that. They're real pushy. They're like, when are you going to ask me to be a bridesmaid? And you're like, oh, wasn't going to, but okay. Like it's tough. Let's talk about choosing your party a little bit more. Aside from like having to feeling like you have to choose certain people, if you're really struggling and you're kind of like maxed out and you're thinking, I only wanted 4 bridesmaids and I've got like extra people that I want included, I don't want them to feel like I don't want them included, I really want them to be a part of our day, I don't know how to do it, you can give them a different role. Okay, there's lots of extra roles that you can include, and there's lots of like new roles up and coming as part of like wedding trends or new things that are coming into play as well, which I think is really, really fun. So when you're like sitting down and planning, have a think about the traditional roles. So what we've talked about, I know you can't really change like mother of the groom, father of the bride kind of thing. They're kind of set in stone with your parents already. But like bridesmaids, groomsmen, flower girls, page boys, witnesses, like you get to choose all of these people. So have a think about which roles you want to use. Do you want to have flower girls? Is that something you're worried about having? Do you want to do like maid of honor, best man, or do you just want to have only bridesmaids and that kind of thing? Do you want to have two maid of honors? And is there two people that's really important to you? Have a think about the roles that you want to use and who would fill those roles, who you would ask to fill those roles. And then if you are struggling and you're thinking, oh God, we've got loads of extra people and I just don't know how we're going to get them involved and like keep everyone happy, there are plenty of other roles you could give them and plenty of other ways that you could keep them involved in your day. So you can get, there's a new one that's been going around that I just think is so cute, when you ask someone to be your something blue. So, you know, you get like something old, something borrowed, something, that kind of thing. People have been asking like an individual person, like, please be my something blue. And you'll ask them to wear blue on the day, and they're like not like dressed in the same things as your bridesmaids or groomsmen, but they are like in blue and they're there to like be your special something blue on the day. I think that's so stinking cute. How cute is that? I would love to see more of that. Can do it for men, can do it for women, can do it for kids, can do it for adults. It's just a cute little thing to get someone involved and kind of have them be a part of your day. Ring bearer, you can give people the special like role of like walking the rings down and like handing those over. You can ask people to do readings if you're having that kind of ceremony, or you could even ask them to do a speech later on in the day and just say, look, you really matter a lot to us. Like, we'd love it if you could give a little speech at our wedding day or a reading or something. That's always a really nice thing that can kind of keep people feeling like, oh, I'm really important to them. That's nice. If you're not having a registrar ceremony, so you're going and getting the legal stuff done at the registry office, and then you're having the wedding day with your celebrant or whatever, and you're doing whatever you want, you can choose to have a family member or friend do that, because it doesn't have to be legal in that sense. You're already legally married, so you can do whatever you want on the day. And that gives you a lot more freedom to play around with like different types of readings. You could get a friend, maybe you've got a friend that's a singer, you want them to sing a song. Maybe you've got, I don't know, a friend that is a magician, and you say, do you know what, can you just keep people entertained whilst we're like before the ceremony starts, or like during the drinks reception? Could you do that for us? I'm sure they'd love it. So have a think, like, what might people want to be involved in, like, that it doesn't include them having to be that immediate bridesmaids, groomsmen, that kind of thing. There's plenty of other roles, and there are things you could think of yourself, like make up a role for them. You do anything you want and just say, could you wear, even down to saying, could you wear the same colors? Like, you know, we can't afford to have any more bridesmaids, and we're only having this set amount of bridesmaids and groomsmen. Maybe we're only having two each, but you've got like 4 or 5 other friends, and you're like, love you guys so much, please would you wear green on the day? Please would you wear something pink on the day, like, so that you still feel like you're part of our like wedding party, but you're not walking down the aisle. Like, that's the only difference, really. And you could say, like, please come spend the morning with me, like come get ready with me and my bridesmaids and all that kind of stuff. The only difference is that they're not walking down the aisle and they're wearing a different dress, but they're still in the same colors. They're still like feeling part of that vibe and that energy. Like, there's so many ways that you can include people and still keep them feeling like they're important to you and showing them how important they are to you. So just have a think about things and think what might work for your group, for your family, your friends, what the kind of right scenario is for you. I promise there are always ways around it, and there are plenty of ways that you can reinvent things and make up your own way of doing things. There's no set rules. Also, just a side note to say that you can switch things around. Like, don't forget how many people we've seen been doing like being like a bridesman or a groomswoman or best woman, you know, that kind of thing, man of honor, that kind of stuff. That's fun. And if you've got like a best friend or a cousin or a brother, you think, could you be my best woman? Could you be like my bridesman? And I'm sure they'd say yeah, because that's cute. You can flip around the roles, you can break tradition. Like, nobody's going to force you into doing things a specific way unless they're really, really mean and traditional. Okay. In which case, you want those out of having an opinion in the wedding, please. Another thing that I think is really important and really helpful when we're talking about like choosing who's going to be a part of your wedding party and choosing what roles people have is like, you can think strategically about this, and you can actually be a bit clever about it and make it work in your favor. So if you have, typically, for example, let's talk about the maid of honor. If you choose your maid of honor, they are typically like your chief bridesmaid, okay? Typically. And they will kind of be the head bridesmaid. They will be organizing your hen party. They'll be, you know, liaising with everyone. They'll be like the lead bridesmaid on the day with like the most kind of responsibility in that sense. Always by your side, doing this, that, and the other, making sure you've got this, you've got that, the hair's in the right place, that kind of stuff. Similar, I guess, to what a coordinator does on the day. Like, they're going to be there helping you do the bits for the most part, unless they're off dancing, drinking, having a good time, whatever. Maybe The person that you want to choose to be your maid of honor is just so disorganized that it's untrue. Like you can't cope with how disorganized they are. And you're sat there thinking, oh my God, this person's supposed to be planning my hen party. That makes me stressed. Yeah, it would make me stressed too. But maybe you can like think of it in your favor and think, actually, I want to choose a different bridesmaid that does project management for a job, or she's just super organized and she's great at planning events and stuff. I want to ask her to plan my hen party instead. But I still want my sister to be my maid of honor, but I'm going to like put the task of doing hen party onto this person. You can do that. Okay. Or you can even just kind of say, you guys are going to do it together. Like bring in another person to take the lead on it and just let people know how you expect things to go. Let people know how you want the plan to go out. Likewise, for groomsmen, you could do the same thing. Or you can say, you can have someone, if you don't want things to get too out of hand, you find your most sensible friend and you say, listen, I'm keeping you in charge of keeping everyone in check and like not getting things get too out of hand. Okay. Because we all know how so and so gets when they get off with an idea, and I don't want to end up stranded in another country on the stag do, not being able to get home because it's happened before. Maybe there's a trend. Choose a friend that you can give a little heads up to and a little nudge and be like, listen, I'm giving you full permission to take the lead on this. That's like, don't think that you can't, like, once you've chosen your party, that's it. They're kind of just there. Like, you can like lead them, tell them what you expect of them, tell them what their roles are within that. You can choose whatever roles you want people to have. Or if you really wanted to go rogue, just erase all titles altogether. Just say we're not doing it. There is no wedding party. Don't want it. We just want everyone to have kind of equal standing. If we want anyone to do anything, we're going to give them a role and say, can you look after the rings, please? Can you bring us the speeches on the day? Can you be the lead point of contact for our wedding planner and our venue, please? Can you organize the hen do amongst yourselves? I want this, this, and this. Please go and do that. Like, you can just erase everything if you wanted to. There's no kind of set rules about it. And I think that's what's really nice about like modern weddings and the way weddings are moving forward, is that people really are just doing whatever they want. And I love that, because people deserve that. Like, you're putting so much money into a wedding day to then feel like you're having it dictated by someone else's rules that were made like years and years ago. That's not cool. Not cool at all. Not fun. So just remember that it's your day and you want to be surrounded by people that bring you joy. Like, this follows through all the way along to like any guest that you invite as well, not just your wedding party. Like, you want to be surrounded by people that really just bring you enjoyment. So if you're really sat there thinking, oh, I'm going to have to ask this person to be part of my wedding party, and I actually really just, I don't like them. I've been wanting to cut them off and we just don't really get on with them anymore. Maybe this is the time to do that. Maybe your wedding is the time that you're brave and you're like, no thanks, we're done, without feeling like you're going to ask them to be your bridesmaid or groomsman and then wake up the day after and think, oh, they just made that such a living hell and it was miserable and I regret asking them. Because I've talked about this before, regrets on your wedding day do not happen years down the line. If you are going to regret anything about your wedding day and the way it went out and everything that happened, you are going to regret it immediately. As in, like, the day after, when you're waking up in that newly wedded bliss, you're going to think, oh my God, it was amazing. But wouldn't it have been even better if so and so wasn't there? Wouldn't it have been even better if we just done this the way we wanted to? Wouldn't it have been even better if I decided to wear the bright pink dress I was thinking about rather than a traditional white wedding dress? Like, I felt great, but it would have just, I kind of just wish I'd like not been so worried about what everyone else is thinking and just done it. You will feel that immediately, I promise you. So we don't want regrets on our wedding day. We don't want anything that's going to make us feel that like, oh, that's annoying, because you can't do it again. That's it, you're done. Unless you renew your vows, which realistically you can't do straight away. You've got to give it a few years. So, hold your own boundaries in place. Like, do it for you. Like, this is your wedding day. Anyone can be a part of your wedding party that you want to. There are no rules. You can do absolutely anything you want to. So just try and remember that when you're going through this process. And if you have any questions about choosing a wedding party, or you're really struggling with it, or you just don't like the etiquette of things is really stressing you out, like, reach out. Okay. If you need some help, you need some support, reach out, let me know. I'd love to help. I am always happy to answer any questions and to be able to kind of help you through that process, because I know that it can be really stressful. And we don't want stress when we are planning a wedding. We're trying to eliminate stress. Stress-free process. We want to feel the 3 C's. Going to bring those back up again. Want to feel calm, confident, and in control. Did I say those the wrong way around? Confident, calm, and in control. It doesn't really matter what order you say it, but that felt really like strange out of my mouth then. Yeah. So feeling calm, if you're feeling stressed and worried about, asking your wedding party for this and who's going to be included, then you're not feeling calm and you're missing an element of that wedding planning process that we want you to feel. So don't do it. Okay. Make decisions that serve you, not others. This is your wedding day, not anyone else's. So a quick little roundup for you, shall we? How to choose your perfect wedding party. The main thing is that you get to choose. It's your wedding party, it's your day. You get to make that ultimate choice, and nobody else gets to have a say in that except for your partner, obviously. So we are not choosing people out of obligation or feeling like we have to return the favor because they asked us one time before years ago. And if you're struggling to find people, like find roles for people because you don't want 6 bridesmaids, you only wanted a few, there are plenty of other roles and responsibilities that you can give people on the day to still make them feel included and still make them feel like they're a part of your special day. If you are feeling clever and strategic, make sure you put your friends and family's strengths to good use. So get your organized friend taking the lead on the hen party planning. Make sure they're keeping the disorganized and flaky ones in check. If you've got a creative friend, make sure you're getting them involved. Help them do your invitations, help them do whatever it might be. You've got a friend that's a really great mixologist, get them making you some signature cocktails to use on the day. Like, the options are endless, but use people's strengths on the day. And maybe you've got a friend that like does content creation, or like they're just really artsy and like creative. Get them to be your content creator on the day. Tell them, like, please just take as much video, pictures, footage for us on the day and send it all over so we can share it on our social media. That's their responsibility. Maybe you've got a friend that's like really confident and like they're an actor, or like they just love being in the spotlight. Ask them to be your Toastmaster. Ask them to kind of usher guests around through the day and announce you into rooms and things like that. Like, you can do so many things. And I think that's a really nice, fun way to kind of include different people based on like the things that they're really good at, and kind of think, oh, actually, we've got a friend that's really good at this. Should we get them to help design our invitations? Should we get them to help design a nice banner for us? Should we get a friend that's a really good seamstress to like alter my dress for me so that they feel included rather than going and getting someone else to do it? Like, think of ways that you can include people. So I want to know, if you struggle to choose your wedding party, if you've already got married, or if you're kind of during that process, and you're like doing it now and you've already chose your wedding party, did you struggle? How did you ask people? How did you feel about that process? Or opposite end of the spectrum, was it a really easy decision? And you've kind of listened to this episode thinking, gosh, I didn't have any of those problems. I didn't struggle at all. Again, you're one of the lucky ones, but I would love to know how you found that process, and was it something that came naturally to you, or did you have to sit and think about it a bit more? Likewise, did anyone get offended, and how did you handle that? I want to know it all. I'm nosy. Tell me all of it. Tell me all the things. Send me in some messages that you'd be happy for me to share on the podcast. Send me in some emails. Send me in some messages that I can reply to and just have a chat. I want to know it all. And absolutely, as I always say, if there's anything you want to send in and share with the group, then you always can. I will keep things anonymous, and we can always do a little Q&A session if that would be of interest to you, and I can answer some more questions about choosing a wedding party and how to handle certain dilemmas throughout that process. So let me know. You can send me a DM, or you can email me at yourweddingunlimitedpodcast@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was really helpful, and I'm looking forward to next episode where we can talk more about all things weddings. In the meantime, though, happy planning, and I will speak to you next week. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Your Wedding Unlimited podcast. I hope you're feeling inspired and excited to create your dream wedding day and those lasting memories. Don't forget to hit that follow or subscribe button so you never miss an episode. I'll be back next Wednesday with more tips, advice, and inspiration. In the meantime, don't be a stranger. Come and find me on Instagram and TikTok at Your Wedding Unlimited, where I share even more wedding ideas and behind-the-scenes insights. You can also watch these episodes on YouTube at Your Wedding Unlimited. And if you're looking for even more support, come and join my private Facebook group, Your Wedding Unlimited. It's an amazing community of fun and authentic engaged couples, packed with extra tips, advice, and insights to guide you along your journey. If you have any questions or need more info, you can DM me or send me an email at yourweddingunlimitedpodcast@gmail.com. All links and details will be in the show notes. Until next time, happy planning!